On the first day of 2026, two hikers came around a bend on the Crozier Mountain Trail in northern Colorado, 7 miles from the gateway to Rocky Mountain National Park. It was 12:15 in the afternoon, bright winter light, and about 100 yards ahead, a mountain lion stood beside a woman lying in the snow. They threw rocks until the cat backed off. One of them was a physician. She found no pulse. Kristen Marie Kovich was 46, an ultramarathon runner from Fort Collins, hiking alone. The coroner ruled her cause of death as asphyxia, external compression of the neck. That is what a mountain lion can do to a grown adult. In seconds, in daylight, on a maintained trail. Now here is the part that should stop you cold. That was the first fatal mountain lion attack in Colorado in more than 25 years, in a state that holds somewhere between 3,800 and 4,400 of them. The question isn't why mountain lions attack people. The question is why, with everything they are built to do, they almost never bother. To understand how strange that is, you have to understand what this animal actually is. Puma concolor, cougar, puma, catamount, panther, mountain lion, 40 names in English alone, because everyone who ever met one had to call it something. It has the widest range of any wild land mammal in the Western Hemisphere, from the Yukon to the far end of South America. Adults can top 130 pounds and stretch more than 6 feet nose to tail. But weight isn't the story. The architecture is. Its spine is bound together more by muscle than by ligament, so the whole body can coil, twist, and snap forward like a loaded spring. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service credits it with leaps of up to 40 feet horizontally and 20 feet straight up. That's a cat that can go from a standstill to the roof of a one-story house. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And the kill is not a brawl. It's a mechanism. It stalks to within a few yards, launches onto the back of the animal, and delivers a single bite just below the base of the skull that breaks the neck. What it can't finish, it drags into cover and buries under leaves and dirt, returning over several days. Paul Beyer, who studied these cats for decades, noted that after finishing a deer, a cougar typically hunts for several days before it takes the next one. Squam Lake's Natural Science Center. It doesn't roar. It purrs. Technically, it isn't even a big cat. It's the largest of the small ones. And it is living, right now, in the hills above tens of millions of Americans. So let's do the math that nobody does. California is home to roughly 4,200 mountain lions and about 39 million people. One figure cited during California's recent listing process puts the nationwide population somewhere between 35,000 and 49,000. Against that, the historical record. When Paul Beyer combed a century of records, newspapers, agency files, medical reports, for every verified cougar attack in the United States and Canada between 1890 and 1990, he found 9 fatal attacks and 44 non-fatal ones. Broader tallies of fatal attacks across North America since 1868 land around 29 cases, an average of about 0.18 deaths per year. Mountain Lion Foundation. Roughly one person every 5 years, across an entire continent. For scale, in an average year in the United States, animal venom kills about 86 people, hunting accidents with firearms kill at least 20, and motor vehicles kill 35,000 to 45,000. And in California alone, cars kill about 2 mountain lions every week. Mountain Lion Foundation. Mountain Lion Foundation. There's an obvious explanation sitting right there. They don't attack us because they aren't near us. That explanation is wrong, and one cat proved it beyond argument. Sometime around 2010, a male kitten was born in the Santa Monica Mountains west of Los Angeles. To find territory of his own, he crossed the 405 and then the 101, 2 of the busiest freeways on Earth, and walked into Griffith Park. South National Park Service Wikipedia. Biologists collared him in March 2012 and called him P22. A male mountain lion normally needs about 150 square miles. P22 held 8 or 9, the smallest home range ever recorded for an adult male of his species. South National Park Service KTLA 5 News. Now picture the neighbors, hikers, joggers, dog walkers, film crews, the Hollywood sign, a city of millions pressed against every edge of his territory. He lived there for more than 10 years. South National Park Service. In 2015, he holed up under a house in Los Feliz. When the crowd finally thinned, he simply walked out in the dark. In 2016, he was suspected of killing a koala at the L.A. Zoo. In late 2022, he killed a leashed dog near the Hollywood Reservoir. The behavior change that told biologists something was wrong. He was hit by a car and euthanized that December. South National Park Service Wikipedia. 10 years. A full-grown apex predator, a mile from a coffee shop. He never touched a person. And he wasn't unusual. In a long-running study of pumas in the Santa Cruz Mountains, every one of the 17 collared cats had housing developments inside its home range. You see Santa Cruz, so they aren't avoiding us with distance. They see us constantly, from a drainage culvert, from behind a fence, from the brush 30 feet off the trail. The avoidance is a decision, and it's built in layers. Layer 1. You are the wrong shape. Predators hunt to a template. For legs, head low, body moving away, under a certain size. A standing human matches none of that. You are tall, vertical, balanced on 2 legs, and looking straight back at it. You can see this in the victim data, and it is grim. Of the 58 victims Bayer documented, 64% were children. The most common age bracket was 5 to 9 years old. With one exception involving rabies, every single fatality he found was a child who was not with an adult. Size matters. Posture matters. Which means you can break the spell yourself. Crouch, kneel, or bend over, and you collapse into the silhouette of something that eats grass. And run, and you become something else entirely. Bayer found running away almost never worked. In at least 2 cases, running appears to have singled a person out of a larger group. He found exactly one near miss where flight helped, and it is the most unsettling detail in the entire paper. A 16-year-old boy encountered a cougar at 25 feet and ran. The cat was closing fast when the boy's boot came off. The cougar attacked the boot and ate it. When the animal was shot an hour later, fragments of the boot were in its stomach. That isn't immoral. It's a mechanism. Motion fires a circuit that logic doesn't reach. But shape only explains the encounters. It doesn't explain why we so rarely have any. Layer 2. They gave us the daylight. Buried in Bayer's century of attack records is a quiet, brilliant observation. The hours when attacks happened tracked the daily rhythm of humans, not cougars. Of the cases where he could pin down a time, most fell in the middle of the day, and there was a 9-hour block, deep in the night, with none at all. Read that again. Attacks cluster when we are out, not when they are hunting. In 2024, researchers from UC Davis, Cal Poly Pomona, and the National Park Service published a study of 22 mountain lions collared with GPS and accelerometers across Greater Los Angeles between 2011 and 2018. Lions living in areas with heavy human recreation were significantly more nocturnal than lions in remote country, who stayed active at dawn and dusk. P22 was among them. Phys.org. In a metropolis of 18 million people, the lions quietly took the night shift. That's not luck. That's scheduling. Which raises the real question. What is powerful enough to reorganize an apex predator's entire day? To find out, a team of scientists did something almost absurdly simple. They talked to them. In the Santa Cruz Mountains, researchers used GPS collars to find fresh puma kills. At each carcass, they hid a speaker and a motion-triggered camera. When the cat came back to feed, the speaker switched on and played the sound of people. Ordinary human conversation, at ordinary conversational volume. As a control, they played Pacific tree frogs. Across 29 trials involving 17 pumas, the cats fled the sound of human voices in 83% of cases. They ran from the frogs exactly once. They didn't just leave. They took far longer to come back and cut their feeding time on the carcass roughly in half. The lead author, Justine Smith, put it plainly. They were definitely afraid of humans. This is the answer the title is asking for, and it is not gentleness. It is not shyness. It is not incapacity. It is fear. Specific, measurable, costly fear. Costly, because it has consequences the cats can't afford. Because they abandon kills near people, they have to make more of them. Kill rates rise by about 36% in areas of high human activity. A mountain lion living near us is a mountain lion that eats worse and works harder. To a puma, we are not prey. We are not competition. We are the predator. A 2015 global analysis in Science found that humans hunt and kill large land carnivores at roughly 9 times the rate those carnivores kill one another. The authors gave us a name that has stuck: the super predator. Science Daily. The cats learned that, and the lesson was written in blood. Between 1907 and 1963, California classified the mountain lion as a bountied predator. During that program, 12,462 lions were killed and turned in for money, more than in any other state. By 1920, the entire California population was estimated at around 600 animals. Mountain Lion Foundation Fox 40. The same campaign ran across the continent, and in the East, it finished the job. The last credible records of eastern cougars date to the 1930s. Maine, 1938. In 2018, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service formally removed the eastern cougar from the endangered species list on the grounds that it was extinct. Appellation voices U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Think about what that does to a species over 150 years. Every lion that was curious about a campfire got shot. Every lion that lingered near a cabin got poisoned, trapped, or run down by hounds. Every lion that dissolved into the brush at the first whiff of wood smoke lived long enough to raise kittens, and kittens stay with their mother for the better part of 2 years, learning what to hunt and what to run from. The fear was selected for, and then it was taught, and it never stopped being reinforced. Colorado's regulated hunt has averaged around 505 lions a year in recent seasons. Between 2000 and 2021, Federal Wildlife Services killed an average of about 340 mountain lions annually nationwide. Colorado Parks and Wildlife Animal Wellness Action. But fear alone doesn't hold a truce. A frightened animal that is cornered attacks. A starving one attacks. Something else keeps the peace. And it's arithmetic. Here is the trap of being a solitary predator. You have exactly one body, and no one is coming to help. A wolf with a shattered jaw can be fed by its pack. A mountain lion with a shattered jaw starves to death over 3 weeks. Its prey is already dangerous. Deer kick, elk are enormous, and Bayer found underweight young cougars with porcupine quills stuck in their throats. So the cat runs a merciless budget. And in 2014, a team led by Terry Williams at UC Santa Cruz proved exactly how merciless. Using a collar packed with accelerometers, they measured energy expenditure in wild pumas continuously, and found that hunting can cost more than twice what you'd predict for a running mammal of that size. The cats offset it by staying hidden, and by precisely matching the force of the pounce to the size of the prey. ResearchGate. Read that once more. They calibrate the violence. They spend what the animal is worth, and not 1 calorie more. Now price a human being on that ledger. You are upright and unpredictable. You often travel in groups. You throw rocks. You swing sticks. You scream. And when you scream, more of you appear. You bring dogs. You bring rifles. And when it's over, you're mediocre food, while a mule deer is standing in the ravine 200 yards away. For a healthy adult lion in decent country, attacking you is a catastrophic trait. That is the answer to the title. Not one factor. 3, stacked. Wrong shape, wrong hours, and a 2-century-old terror of us, reinforced by cold cost benefit. Now watch what happens when the arithmetic changes. Because it does. And when it does, people die. Bayer found that nearly 40% of the attacking cougars he could identify were yearlings, 12 to 23 months old. Even though yearlings typically make up less than a quarter of any population, most of those young attackers were markedly underweight. A later model built from every North American attack since 1890 reached the same conclusion. Young or unhealthy lions are the most likely to attack a person, though when a healthy adult does it, the attack is far more likely to be fatal. Mountain Lion Foundation. Why yearlings? Because of a moment every mountain lion survives or doesn't. Dispersal. Around a year to 2 years old, the mother pushes them out. They walk into country they don't know, usually the leftovers, the ragged edge where the wild land meets the subdivisions. They are bad hunters. They are hungry, and they have not finished learning the rule about us. February 17, 2024. 5 women in their 50s and 60s, competitive cyclists, 19 miles into a ride on the Topol Creek Trail east of Seattle. 2 cougars crossed the gravel. One bolted. The other tackled 60-year-old Carrie Bergera off her bike and clamped down on her face. Her four friends did not run. They bashed the cat with a rock, stabbed at it with a stick, cut at its neck with a multi-tool. It took 15 minutes to make it let go, and when it did, they pinned it to the ground under a mountain bike and stood on top of it until a wildlife officer arrived. The necropsy: a healthy young male, 9 months to a year old. No rabies. Her missing earring was in its stomach. It weighed 75 pounds. She lived. KUOW+3. March 23, 2024. El Dorado County, California. Brothers Talon Brooks, 21, and Wyatt, 18, were walking a dirt road looking for shed antlers, something they did all the time. They saw the lion coming up the road. They did exactly what you were supposed to do: raised their arms, shouted, threw a backpack at it. It charged anyway. It bit Wyatt in the face and took him down. Talon attacked the animal to save his brother. The lion released Wyatt, turned, and seized Talon by the throat. Wyatt, his face torn open, ran until he found cell signal. When deputies arrived, they found the mountain lion crouched over his brother's body. The cat was a 90-pound male, a young one, by the state's own assessment. My News 4+4. And New Year's Day 2026, on Crozier Mountain. The two lions found near Kristen Kovich's body were both about a year old, male and female, and wildlife officers concluded they were a family group. Necropsies came back clean, healthy, no rabies. Human DNA was on all four paws of the male. In the 9 weeks before her death, the agency had already received 5 reports of lion attacks and sightings in that area, including a runner who was rushed on the same trail in November and drove the animal off by hitting it in the head with a broken branch. KYA+2. So the truce is real. It is not a guarantee, which is why the official advice is not be calm. It is, don't run, don't crouch, and don't bend over. Face the animal. Make yourself as large as you can, make noise, give it an escape route, and put small children on your shoulders. And if contact happens, fight. Of the victims and buyers' records who fought back with bare hands, sticks, knives, or rocks, the effort usually drove the cougar off. He found no evidence at all that playing dead works. Fox 40. And now the inversion. Because this relationship has never been symmetrical, and it is getting less symmetrical every year. In the National Park Service study area around Los Angeles, at least 29 mountain lions have been killed by vehicles since 2002. In 2011, a young male walked roughly 2,000 miles from South Dakota through Minnesota, Wisconsin, and New York, looking for territory that no longer exists, and was killed by a car on a Connecticut highway. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Then there's the poison. Rat bait moves up the food chain, into rodents, into bobcats, into lions. In research across the Santa Monica Mountains, the overwhelming majority of tested mountain lions carried anticoagulant rodenticides, exposure linked to the mange that can kill them. P. 22 himself was treated for mange in 2014. Center for Biological Diversity U. South National Park Service. And then the quietest killer of all, the gene pool. In 2020, biologists collared a young male called P. 81. His tail was kinked into the shape of an owl. He had one undescended testicle. It was the first physical evidence of inbreeding depression in the Santa Monica population. A UCLA-led study later reported that lions in these isolated ranges averaged a 93% abnormal sperm rate. It is the same syndrome that nearly finished the Florida panther. CBS News Plus 2. On February 12, 2026, the California Fish and Game Commission voted unanimously to list 6 mountain lion populations, from the Bay Area down to the Mexican border, as threatened under the state's Endangered Species Act. The deadliest cat in America is losing to freeways, to rat poison, and to its own shrinking bloodline. So here is the answer, whole. The mountain lion doesn't spare you because it can't kill you. Kristen Kovich's death certificate proves it can, and Talon Brooks's brother watched it happen. It spares you because 3 things are stacked against the attempt. You are the wrong shape. Too tall, too upright, too strange. Right up until the moment you crouch or turn and run. You are awake when it isn't, and it has pushed itself deeper into the dark to keep it that way. And above all, it is afraid of you, because for 200 years, every lion that wasn't afraid of us is gone. That's not mercy. It's a calculation run by an animal with one body, no pack, and no margin for a bad night. Attacking a human is a gamble that pays badly, and mountain lions do not gamble. They match the force of the pounce to the size of the prey. The exceptions are almost always the same. A young cat, newly evicted, starving or half-trained, squeezed into the narrow seam where our world grinds against what's left of theirs. As we take more of that country, we make more of that seam. Remember P. 22, a full-grown apex predator, living under the Hollywood sign for 10 years, surrounded by millions of people, choosing every single night to be invisible. This December, a bridge planted with native soil and wildflowers is scheduled to open across 10 lanes of the 101 freeway, built largely because of him. Spectrum Local News. The deadliest cat in America has spent a century learning to disappear from us. The danger was never that it would change its mind. The danger is that we're paving over the last places where disappearing is still an option. If you want the rest of this story, the predators we've spent our whole lives fearing for the wrong reasons, stay with the channel.